Chapter 21. Formal Self-Introduction. Shen Miao, a beautiful woman in a cheongsam, was also a little surprised, especially when she saw the reaction of the person in the wheelchair when he saw Xuan. Her gaze moved between the man in the wheelchair and Xuan. This girl. After a long time, Jiang recovered from her shock and replied, "I know him." Only Jiang Lin, who was pushing the wheelchair, could be considered calm. However, he only appeared calm on the surface. To be able to meet her like this, he was truly exceptional. Jiang Lin nodded at Jiang Rui and greeted her. "Young miss." Then he nodded at Xuan. Him addressing her as young miss made Shen Miao and Shen Yuying instantly know who Jiang Rui was. Shen Miao smiled gently and said, "So you are a child of the Jiang family of Sea City." Jiang Rui did not know how to address her, but it was obvious that she was her fifth uncle's elder, whom she had to treat respectfully. She naturally did not dare to neglect her. She said politely, "Hello?" Shen Miao nodded and turned to Xuan. "Who is this again?" It seemed like she was asking Jiang Rui, but she was actually looking at the man in the wheelchair from the corner of her eyes. Interest flashed in her eyes. "She is..." Just as Jiang Rui was about to speak, she was interrupted by someone. However, it was not an introduction. Instead, he looked directly at Xuan and said, "We meet again." Xuan replied with a faint smile, "Yes, we meet again." Jiang Rui looked at her fifth uncle and then at Xuan. She was completely stunned. What was going on? How did Xiaoyan and her fifth uncle know each other? And when did they meet? "I wanted to prepare a formal gift to thank you for sending me back that day, but I didn't expect to meet you here first." His voice was clear and gentle. Looking at the pastry box in his hand, he said, "Aunt Shen's pastry is very delicious. I wanted to give it to you to try." Shen Miao let out an "oh" in her heart. No wonder she suddenly received a call from him the day before yesterday, saying that he wanted to eat the pastry she made. At that time, she thought it was strange. Even though he always brought a box of pastry with him every time he came to her place, he had never taken the initiative to ask for it. This was the first time. Moreover, he was the one who called her personally. It made her so excited that her visiting friend's mood was all gone. She rushed back to make pastries for him. As a result, she had just landed early this morning. As soon as she came back, she did not even have time to rest before she started making pastries. As soon as the pastries were ready, he came. She thought that he had suddenly found his conscience and came to visit a lonely old woman like her. She did not expect that his purpose was actually here. What a good fellow. Ignoring the shock of the others, he continued, "Since we've met here, I'll give you the pastries now. They taste better when they're hot." Without needing him to say anything, Jiang Lin pushed his wheelchair forward. He handed the pastry box to Xuan. Xuan took a glance at the exquisite pastry box and then at the man sitting in the wheelchair, who had an outstanding appearance and temperament. After a few seconds of hesitation, she took it with a smile. "It's nothing, sir. You're welcome." She actually took it. This simply shocked Jiang Rui. After spending so much time together, Jiang Rui already knew Xuan's personality. She was definitely not the kind of person who would easily accept gifts from others. However, she took fifth uncle's pastries. Moreover, fifth uncle actually came especially to look for an elder to make pastries for Xiaoyan. Did she accidentally stumble upon something extraordinary? She was a little excited. The person in the wheelchair stood up from the wheelchair and extended his hand towards Xuan. "I didn't manage to formally introduce myself the last time we met. I'm Jiang Che. It's nice to meet you." Seeing him stand up from the wheelchair, a flash of surprise flashed across Xuan's eyes, but she quickly recovered. Holding the pastry box with one hand, she smiled and extended her right hand to shake his gently. "Xuan, it's nice to meet you too." The others did not react to his ability to stand up. They acted as if it was a matter of course. In this way, there was nothing that Xuan did not understand. It was not that he could not stand on his legs. It was probably because his body was not in a good condition, and he needed to use a wheelchair to travel. After all, this would save a great deal of labor. It was very normal for the two of them to release their grip after a light shake. However, it was unusual for this to happen to the two of them, especially to the fifth master of the Jiang family. In any case, Jiang Rui was so shocked that she could not speak. It was Shen Miao, an elder who was used to big waves, who was the first to react. She smiled and said, "Since it's someone Archie knows, why don't we go in together and have a meal? It's almost time to eat. Archie, don't be in a hurry to leave." "Maybe next time. I still have something to do," Jiang Che said. Then he nodded to Shi Yan and said, "Miss Shi, see you next time." "See you next time." He sat in the wheelchair again, and Zhang Lin pushed him out of the Shen embroidery house. Shen Miao suddenly could not figure out his thoughts. Since he was interested in this girl in front of him, she had created an opportunity for him. He should cherish it. Why did he leave? However, if he was not interested in this girl, he had still especially asked her to prepare pastries, and even came to pick them up personally, just to give them to the girl to taste. What was going on? As for his excuse of thanking her for the gifts, Shen Miao did not believe it. She had never seen him prepare any ordinary gifts for anyone, let alone preparing them with great effort. Not only Shen Miao, Jiang Rui and Shen Yuying were also puzzled. "Forget it. If he wants to leave, then leave. The two of you can stay for dinner. Auntie's cooking skills are pretty good." Shen Miao's voice fell, and Shen Yuying also smiled and said, "My master is right. The two of you can stay for dinner. I didn't know there was such a relationship before. What a surprise." It was more than a surprise. Today's incident was simply a shock. It was also because she had followed her master for a long time that she had learned some ability to hide her emotions. Otherwise, how could she be so calm at this moment? Her gaze fell on Shi Yan again. Now that she looked at Shi Yan again, she felt completely different. This girl could actually receive special treatment from that person. Speaking of which, she had heard a lot of rumors recently that a guest from the Jiang family of Sea City had arrived. She was old Lady Jiang's savior in her early years, and she was also an orphan from the countryside. Now, she was living in the Jiang family's old mansion in Sea City. It was said that old Lady Jiang intended to set her up with the young master of the Jiang family. As she was living in the same mansion as that person, she rarely listened to gossip. She was also a little curious about this country girl who lived in the Jiang family's old mansion in Sea City. She did not expect the so-called country girl to be like this. Jiang Rui did not respond immediately. Instead, she looked at Shi Yan. Shi Yan smiled lightly and said, "I won't trouble you today. When you are free, we will visit you again to try your good skills." Looking at the pastry box in her hand, Shi Yan smiled gently and said, "Thank you for the pastries." "I didn't give you the pastries. Why are you thanking me?" "If you want to thank me, thank the person who gave you the pastries," Shen Miaoxiao said with a smile. "Since you have said so, I won't force you to stay. Come and play when you are free. I have nothing to do, so I'm basically in the shop." Shi Yan nodded with a smile, and the two of them paid the bill and left. Shen Yuying had originally planned to not take their money, but Shi Yan and Jiang Rui insisted. In the end, Shen Yuying gave them a 20% discount. Although it was a 20% discount, the handkerchief in Shi Yan's hand cost more than 1,000 yuan. It could be seen that the things here were not cheap. Jiang Rui thought of the greeting gifts that Shi Yan had prepared for them. The money must have been quite a lot. To her, the eldest daughter of the Jiang family, this amount of money was nothing. However, to Shi Yan, who had lived in the countryside since she was young and had no elders in her family, it was different. She offered to help Shi Yan pay for the handkerchief, but Shi Yan insisted on not letting her pay. In the end, Jiang Rui had to compromise. She wanted to go out with Shi Yan in the future, and would try not to let Xuan pay for it. Walking out of the embroidery shop and out of the alley, Jiang Rui's eyes occasionally glanced at the exquisite pastry box in Xuan's hand. Finally, she could not help but ask, "Xiaoyan, what's going on between you and my fifth uncle?" Chapter 22. Jiang Rui could not accept it. Fifth uncle even personally prepared a thank you gift for you. It was even a special thank you gift that he personally went to the elders' door for, looking for the pastries that the elders had made for him. The more she thought about it, the more astonished Jiang Rui became. Also, fifth uncle said that he was thanking you for sending him back. What happened? I had met fifth master Jiang, who was out alone in a wheelchair in the courtyard, and sent him back. It was very easy for me to do. It was fifth master Jiang who was too well-mannered. Xuan said it simply, but Jiang Rui did not think so in her heart. This was not a problem of being too courteous. That was fifth uncle. Although fifth uncle rarely treated others coldly, she had never seen him treat anyone so specially since fifth uncle moved into the old residence. Putting aside how incredible it was for fifth uncle to personally come to look for his elders' pastries as a thank you gift, it was already an incredible thing for fifth uncle to actually agree to Xiaoyan sending him back. However, Jiang Rui did not intend to get to the bottom of it. If it was just an ordinary person helping out, and the other person thanking them, then she would be meddling in other people's business. She would just wait and see. Jiang Rui said, "So that's how it is. Since you helped out, it's only right for fifth uncle to give you a thank you gift." Jiang Rui could not help but shiver when she said that. Oh my God, she had done well. She even dared to speak from fifth uncle's position. What kind of person was fifth uncle? Even her parents and her brother didn't dare to say things like, "It's only right to prepare a gift to thank you," on behalf of fifth uncle. Her gaze fell on the pastry box in Xuyan's hand once again. Even fifth uncle thought that the pastry was delicious. She was really curious about how delicious it was. Sensing her gaze, Xuan said with a faint smile, "Since this is a thank you gift personally prepared by fifth master Jiang, I'm afraid I can't share it with you. I know that there's a pretty good pastry shop not far away. I'll treat you to their pastries." Jiang Rui was speechless for a moment. She didn't say anything. Although it was indeed not very nice to share other people's thank you gifts, this was food, not some expensive gift. Moreover, there was no one else here, so no one would know if they had shared it. Besides, Xiaoyan was clearly not a stingy person. She was rather protective of this box of cakes. She looked at Xuan with a slightly mocking gaze. However, she saw Xuan smiling at her calmly. Hence, Jiang Rui did not understand. Was she thinking too much? "Fifth uncle personally found these and handed them to you personally. I don't dare to eat it. You were right not to distinguish it from me." Jiang Rui was speaking from the bottom of her heart. She was indeed curious about the taste of pastries, but she didn't dare to eat them. She was afraid that she couldn't afford to have diarrhea. "Xiaoyan, you don't have to spend money to treat me. If you want to eat pastries, just wait until you return to the old residence and ask the kitchen to prepare them. The pastries made at home are better than those bought outside." "That's true," Xuan smiled. For a big aristocratic family like the Jiang family of Sea City, the chefs they hired were all gathered from outside, so their culinary skills were naturally not bad. Moreover, many of the wives and socialites of the big aristocratic families had one or two pastries or dishes that they were good at, and Jiang Rui would be no exception. She didn't need to make them herself, but she had to know how to cook. Of course, the prerequisite was that Jiang Rui was not an idiot in the kitchen. "Then I won't treat you to pastries. I'll treat you to something else. It's almost time for dinner." Jiang Rui didn't refuse this time. She didn't want Xuan to spend money, but she also didn't want Xuan to feel that she couldn't even afford a meal in Jiang Rui's eyes, which would hurt Xuan's self-esteem. It was just a meal. She just needed to find a cheaper shop. Asterisk. Meanwhile, at the Shen embroidery house. After Xuan and Jiang Rui left, no new customers entered the shop. Only Shen Miao and Shen Yuying were left. Shen Miao sat down on the sofa in the resting area. Shen Yuying was still standing. Master, fifth master, and that Miss Xian. Shen Yuying obviously hesitated for a long time before she opened her mouth. However, just as she opened her mouth, Shen Miao raised her eyes to look at her and stopped her from continuing. It's best that we don't ask too much about Archie's matters. Otherwise, he won't even care about us in the end. Hearing Shen Miao's words, Shen Yuying was secretly shocked. She was used to seeing that master being gentle and elegant in front of her master. She almost forgot what kind of person he originally was. If she really crossed the line and asked about his matters, it would be a light punishment for him to ignore them. If he were to be angered, it would be difficult to end things. Master, I understand. I've just never seen the fifth master treat anyone so differently. I can't help but feel a little curious. I'm only saying these things in front of you. You're not the only one curious. I'm curious too. As she spoke, Shen Miao said thoughtfully, Speaking of which, this Xian seems somewhat familiar to me. I don't know where I've seen her before. She came to our shop before, about 20 days ago. At that time you were receiving other customers, so you probably didn't notice. So she came to our shop before? No wonder I felt that she looked a little familiar. Shen Miao suddenly thought of something and looked at Shen Yuying, her eyes becoming more serious. Archie has been outstanding since he was young. No one can compare to him in terms of his abilities, looks, and bearing. There are many girls who admire him. Yuying, you've been by my side since you were young. Although you don't often interact with Archie because of me, you can be considered to be familiar with him. Before she could finish her sentence, Shen Yuying's face turned white in an instant. She even shuddered violently. Master, why would you have such thoughts? That's fifth master Jiang. If it wasn't for you by my side, I wouldn't even dare to stand in front of him. Do you have any thoughts towards him? Please spare me. To exaggerate a little, in my eyes, fifth master is like the bright moon in the sky and the land. The immortals of the 9 heavens can only be looked up to, and I don't dare to blaspheme. She was so excited that she almost blurted out what she was thinking. Master treated the fifth master as her own junior. It was somewhat inappropriate for her to describe the fifth master as the god of killing in the land in front of her master. Hearing her say this, Shen Miao's serious gaze finally stopped, and she laughed lightly. Master is relieved that you think so. Although Archie is an outstanding child, he is not suitable for you. Ever since Master adopted you by her side, you are clearly your master's, but in Master's heart you are my daughter. Master doesn't want you to torment yourself. Of course, if Archie is interested in you, then Master... Without waiting for her to finish speaking, Shen Yuying waved her hand, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. She said in shock, Don't, Master, I can't take it. Don't make wild guesses. Because of you, fifth master and I have known each other for more than 10 years. If I wanted to be interested, I would have done it long ago. I wouldn't have waited until now. Shen Miao smiled. I wasn't afraid that you would be tempted in the past because Archie didn't mean it. Now that he treats other girls differently, Master! Shen Yuying was speechless. She stamped her feet anxiously. All right. Master won't tease you anymore. As long as you don't have such thoughts, Master will be at ease. As for Archie and that girl called Xian, let Archie go. We'll just watch. Shen Yuying regained her serious expression and walked to the other side of the sofa to sit down. But Master, I've heard a lot of rumors about Miss Xian. She's an orphan who grew up in the countryside without parents. I mentioned this not to say that she's not worthy of Master 5 or anything. After all, one's birth is not something that can be decided by oneself. Just like myself. If I hadn't met Master and received your adoption and guidance, I still wouldn't know what I would be like now. On the contrary, I think that Miss Xian and fifth master are a perfect match in terms of looks and temperament. Naturally, the prerequisite is that fifth master likes her. I'm afraid that if they really have too many interactions and even get together in the end, Miss Xian, who doesn't have a solid background to protect her, will become a breakthrough for others to suppress Fifth Master, and Miss Xian herself will be in danger. Chapter 23. Xian's eyes darkened. They had only met twice. Although she had a good impression of Xuan, it was not to the point where she was worried about her safety. Shen Yuying only had such thoughts for Jiang Che's sake. Or rather, for Shen Miao's sake. In the end, Shen Miao treated Jiang Che as her own junior. If Shen Yuying was worried about this, how could Shen Miao not be worried at all? Shen Miao said with a tinge of emotion, "This is not something that we should be concerned about. A person has to be responsible for his own choices. If Achi chooses a person himself, he should be the one to protect them. It is his ability that can protect him, but he can't. Even with Achi's ability, he can't protect a person, so we can't help him either, right? So why are you worrying over nothing?" Hearing her words, Shen Yuying suddenly felt relieved. Master is so clear-headed. Speaking of which, I was really scared just now. Fifth Master personally called you to make pastries, and he actually wanted to give them to a girl. If those who are familiar with Fifth Master knew about this, who knows how shocked they would be. Noble and elegant, the flower of the high mountains could only be admired and not fall into the mortal world. This had always been the Fifth Master in her eyes. Of course, it was also the Fifth Master in the eyes of many people. If she suddenly told them that the noble and otherworldly person might have taken a fancy to a girl and started to be tainted by the mortal world. She didn't even dare to imagine that scene. She felt that her reaction was absolutely calm compared to that of others. We don't care about other people. We just need to make sure that this matter doesn't come from our mouth. This was a disguised reminder to Shen Yuying that what she saw and heard today should not be told to others. I know what's important. Don't worry, Master. Xuan and Jiang Rui came to a noodle shop. It was a normal noodle shop by the roadside. Seeing that there were many customers and that the hygiene was good, Jiang Rui led Xuan into the shop. The price of noodles in a noodle shop was between 8 yuan and 15 yuan. Jiang Rui didn't feel too burdened to let Xuan treat her. Jiang Rui ordered a bowl of noodles, a large one. Xian didn't order any noodles. Instead, she ordered a bowl of plain porridge, a small bowl. Jiang Rui looked at the large bowl of noodles in front of her, and then at the small bowl of porridge in front of Xian. Xiaoyan, that's all you eat? This noodle shop's food tastes good. Do you want a bowl too? She had already eaten 2 mouthfuls of noodles, and the taste was not bad. No need. I'm not very hungry yet. Besides, I want to try some pastries. Xian smiled and opened the pastry box on the table. The pastry box was beautiful, but the pastry was even more exquisite. It was divided into 2 layers, and there were 6 pieces on each layer. It was obvious that each layer had a different flavor. This pastry is excellent just by looking at its appearance. No wonder even Fifth Uncle said it's good. Little Yan, try it and see how it tastes. It was unknown whether it was because the pastry looked good, or simply because it was a pastry that even Fifth Master Jiang had praised. But Jiang Rui actually almost drooled just by looking at it. Actually, she didn't share it with others. Xian should take it back and open it again later. However, Jiang Qi said that the taste was better when it was hot. Xian picked up a piece and took a bite. Her eyes, which were rarely emotional, lit up. The taste is really good. Jiang Rui swallowed her saliva and resisted the urge to pick up a piece and taste it. She took a big bite and stuffed it into her mouth so she felt better. Fifth Uncle praised the taste. It should be true. Then she sighed. I didn't expect Fifth Uncle to have such a familiar elder in Sea City. I've never heard of her. I guess even Grandma doesn't know about her. Xian paused while eating the pastry and looked up at her. At that time, Jiang Rui had already lowered her head and continued eating the noodles. She didn't see the confusion in Xian's eyes. Suddenly, a questioning voice rang out in the noodle shop, shouting, "Why are you here?" Immediately after, someone pushed and knocked against their table. "Xiaoyan, Get out of the way! Jiang Rui shouted. However, before she could finish her sentence, Xuan had already nimbly picked up the porridge in one hand and the pastry box in the other, and quickly got up to get out of the way. She was not affected in the slightest. At the same time, Jiang Rui also picked up the noodle bowl and quickly got out of the way. Other than a few drops of soup in the noodle bowl spilling on the ground, it did not have much of an effect. Xiaoyan, are you all right? Jiang Rui asked anxiously. Xuan shook her head. I'm fine. Looking at the pastry box lid that had fallen to the ground before she could pick it up from the table, Xuan's eyes darkened slightly. She was sitting with her back facing the front door of the noodle shop. The person who was pushing was someone who had just entered the noodle shop, so it could be considered as a sudden push from behind her. Her actions were faster than her brain. She picked up the pastry box with porridge in her hands. Her hands were not free, so she did not have time to pick up the lid of the pastry box that she had opened on the table. Her reaction was faster than Jiang Rui's. Fortunately, she was sitting with her back facing the door. If it was Jiang Rui, the person who was being pushed might not have knocked down the table, but Jiang Rui's back. Jiang Rui was eating noodles at that time. With such a collision, even if the table was not knocked down, her face would probably fall into the boiling soup. No matter how good Xuan's temper was, she was a little angry at this time. Her smile had disappeared, and her slightly dark eyes swept over the person who had been pushed. The person who had pushed and questioned was an 18 or 19-year-old girl. The person who had been pushed and knocked down onto the table was a middle-aged woman. She was wearing the uniform of a noodle shop attendant. She fell to the ground in a sorry state. No one knew if she was injured. After creating such a big commotion, the girl was obviously frightened. With so many pairs of eyes staring at her, she seemed to be a little angry from embarrassment. She did not apologize immediately. Instead, she pointed at the woman who had fallen to the ground and scolded. It's all your fault. If you hadn't been a waitress here, would things have turned out like this? You should pay for it yourself. Don't even think about making me take responsibility. I've already told you not to be a waitress at the place where I eat. Why didn't you listen? Do you think that I haven't embarrassed myself enough? There were two girls standing behind the girl. They were a little shocked by this sudden scene, but when they came back to their senses, they looked at the girl who was shouting with disdain and ridicule. Xuan had seen them last time when they were eating alone in a restaurant. They were a mother and daughter. The daughter was called Wan Ru, and the mother was called Xuan Luying. It was unknown whether she was shocked and didn't react, or if she was really injured. The woman who fell to the ground didn't make a sound for a long time. As she watched, Jiang Rui had already placed the noodles on the table at the side and walked over to help her up. Auntie, are you okay? I'm fine. I'm sorry that I almost dragged you guys into this. I'm sorry. The woman apologized repeatedly, but she kept her head down and did not lift it up. Her voice was choked with sobs. She looked pitiful as her tears fell down. It did not look like she was crying in pain, but more like she was disappointed, or even a little sad. Seeing this, most of Jiang Rui's anger dissipated. Xuan looked at the situation and did not say anything. She put the bowl of porridge on the empty table behind her. She did not put down the pastry box. Instead, she bent down to pick up the lid. She picked it up, took out a tissue, wiped it clean, and covered the pastry box again. Then, she turned to the person who was still shouting and swearing. She walked straight over and kicked the girl who was swearing in the stomach. With a bang, she kicked the girl to the ground, knocking the table to the side and shaking it. The crowd stopped talking, the woman stopped apologizing and crying, and the girl stopped swearing. Everyone looked at this scene in shock. Chapter 24. This world is really small. The originally noisy noodle shop had become so quiet that one could hear a pin drop. Looking at the girl who had kicked the person down, she didn't seem to be a ferocious person. On the contrary, she had an elegant and quiet temperament. She just stood there indifferently, as if all of this had nothing to do with her and she was just a bystander. Yet the person who had kicked the person down and controlled this mess was her. Forget about the others, even Jiang Rui was looking at Xuan in shock. In her mind, Xuan was a very gentle person. The kind of reserved and delicate posture associated with a well-born young lady was vividly displayed on Xuan. She often wore a gentle smile on her face and greeted everyone with a smile. At least Jiang Rui had never seen her cold face since they first met. She never thought that Xuan would directly make a move. Xuan was actually more decisive and direct in handling things than she was. "What are you doing?" Finally reacting, Xuan Wanru raised her head and glared at Xuan. "It's you again!" Obviously, she recognized Xuan. Xuan Luying, who had stopped crying due to fear, also recognized her. Just as she was about to speak, Xuan Wanru did not give her a chance. She said angrily to Xuan first, "I told you to mind your own business here." "Mind your own business?" Xuan did not have any expression on her face. "I don't have the heart to do that," she said. She glanced at the table that had been knocked down. "I was sitting here eating with my friend just now, and I almost got hurt by accident. Don't you even know how to apologize?" Only then did the onlookers come to their senses. Looking at the mess in front of them, they thought that if the two girls had not dodged quickly, they would have been hurt by accident. Not only did the culprit not apologize in time, but she also continued to push. She looked like a decent little girl, but why was her attitude so bad? With this thought, someone started to criticize her. "She's right. You almost hurt someone by accident. Why don't you apologize? It's fine if you don't apologize, but you're still making a scene. This is a public place, not your home. She looks pretty and clean too. Why is her attitude so bad? Judging from your age, you should be a high school student. Is this what a high school student is like? If this was my child, she would have broken her leg long ago. I saw her pushing people as soon as she entered the door. I don't know what kind of deep hatred she has for this waitress." "What deep hatred? Didn't she just say that the waitress embarrassed her? I think she's a relative." "What relative?" "I think it's most likely a mother and daughter. The vain daughter brought her friends over to eat, and when she saw her biological mother working as a waitress in the shop, she felt embarrassed and flew into a rage out of humiliation." "You really sound like you mean it when you say it like that. Everyone says that children don't mind ugly women or dogs or poor families. Raising such an ingrate daughter is also terrible." Hearing these discussions and accusations, Xuan Luying felt so ashamed that she couldn't even lift her face. As for Xuan Wanru, her face was flushed red. It was unknown whether she was ashamed or angry. The two girls who had entered the shop with her just now silently took a few steps back and stayed away from her. Seeing this, Xuan Wanru realized that the perfect goddess image that she had worked so hard to build was ruined, just like that. Xuan, yeah, The two girls took another 2 steps back. They looked at Xuan Wanru with disdain in their eyes. They wanted to turn around and leave, but they saw Jiang Rui. They were very surprised. Jiang Rui was the eldest daughter of the Jiang family. How could she come to such a small noodle shop to eat? "Jiang Rui, what a coincidence." One of the girls smiled and greeted Jiang Rui. Jiang Rui was still standing beside Xuan Luying and supporting her. She nodded at the girl as a response. Xiyan looked at the interaction between the few of them and turned her gaze to Jiang Rui. "High school classmates." Jiang Rui smiled and explained to her. Xiyan understood. This world was really small. However, this greeting made Xuan Wanru's face suddenly turn pale. Jiang Rui? Why was she here? Why would a rich young lady like Jiang Rui eat in such a low-end noodle shop? In school, Jiang Rui was superior to her in both looks and grades. Since Jiang Rui was the young lady of the Jiang family, in everyone's eyes, Jiang Rui was a goddess who was beautiful, kind, and had excellent grades. If it weren't for the fact that Jiang Rui prided herself on being noble and didn't get close to other students, there wouldn't be a place for her in school. After her painstaking efforts, she had finally become the campus goddess that was as famous as Jiang Rui. In the school, Everyone knew that she and Jiang Rui were rivals, and they were compared everywhere. Now she had lost so much face in front of her rival. Why did it happen that the people who asked her out today were Zhao Xuan and Hu Yueya, who had met her mother on the street when they were shopping together? If they had not asked her out today, she would not have lost her mind when she saw her embarrassing mother working as a waitress in the shop just now. She did not even realize that Jiang Rui was here. Seeing Xuan Wanru staring at her with her eyes wide open and her face pale, Jiang Rui raised her eyebrows slightly and said, "I didn't expect you to be an acquaintance. I also didn't expect that Xuan Wanru, the delicate goddess that many boys and girls adore, would have such a free and easy side outside." The words free and easy sounded extremely ironic in this situation. Under everyone's gaze, Xuan Wanru's face alternated between red and white. She wanted to deny that this waitress was her mother, but Zhao Xuan and Hu Yueya knew the truth. She could not deny it at all. Now not only did Zhao Xuan and Hu Yueya know that she was not some rich girl and her mother was also a lowly waitress, but even Jiang Rui, her sworn enemy, knew about it. With a face full of shame and anger, she glared fiercely at Xuan Luying. It was all her fault. If she had not met her last time on the street, she would not have stopped her in front of Zhao Xuan and Hu Yueya and asked if she still had the money to spend, exposing that she was her real mother. She would not be so embarrassed now. Meeting her vicious gaze, Xuan Luying's pupils constricted, and she staggered back 2 steps. With remorse and sadness, she shouted, "Wan Rao! Don't call me. What are you doing?" It was the owner of the noodle shop. He had been busy in the kitchen, but he had already heard the commotion and came out of the kitchen. However, before he could lose his temper, he was shocked by Shi Yan's decisive kick. Only now did he come back to his senses. "Sister Xuan, I asked you to help in the shop because I felt sorry for you. You've only been here for 2 days, and you've already caused me so much trouble. You're really good." "I'm sorry, boss. I'm really sorry. I'll compensate you for the damage caused to your shop. I'm really sorry." Xuan Luying repeatedly bowed and apologized. Then she kept bowing to Shi Yan and Jiang Rui. "I'm sorry. I almost hurt you guys by accident." Then she turned to the others in the shop. "I'm really sorry. My daughter is not sensible and has caused trouble for everyone." The woman was very thin. Her figure was a little hunched, and her face was full of vicissitudes. She was wearing an ordinary waiter's uniform and a pair of worn-out shoes. Just now she had been pushed to the table and fell to the ground. No one knew if she was injured, but she could not care about herself and wholeheartedly apologized for her daughter's mistake. As for her daughter, she was wearing a white dress, small leather shoes, and a small bag on her back. She was beautifully dressed, and she just stood there and watched. This scene made everyone feel very complicated. How could someone have such a ruthless daughter? Chapter 25. Meeting Madame Jiang by chance. All right. You can't afford to pay for it, so I won't pursue the matter any further. Hurry up and pack your things and take your daughter away. My small temple can't accommodate you." The boss waved his hand impatiently. Then he glanced at Xuan Wanru, who was still struggling to get up, and said, "Sister Xuan, seeing that you've been working seriously in my shop for the past 2 days, let me give you a piece of advice. It's better for the child not to be too indulgent. Otherwise, you'll regret it in the future. Let's go. After saying that, the boss and the others apologized and promised that the customers who had already ordered food would be exempted. Only then did the noodle shop gradually return to normal. After comforting the others, the boss apologized to Shi Yan and Jiang Rui. "I'm sorry to have affected your mood." "It's okay. It's our bad luck." As Jiang Rui said that, she asked Shi Yan, "Xiao Yan, do you still want to eat?" Shi Yan nodded. If she didn't eat, wouldn't the bowl of plain porridge she had just saved and the bowl of noodles Jiang Rui had saved go to waste? Jiang Rui had only eaten 2 mouthfuls of the large bowl of noodles, and she hadn't even eaten a mouthful of porridge. Seeing this, the boss hurriedly invited the two of them to sit at an empty table at the side. Finally, Xuan Wanru, who was holding onto the table leg and struggling to stand up, looked at Xuan Luying, who was still standing there motionlessly, and scolded her angrily. "Why aren't you leaving? Haven't you embarrassed enough people?" Jiang Rui was eating her noodles, couldn't help but say, "I wonder who is the one who is embarrassed." Her words were like poking a hornet's nest, and Xuan Wanru completely exploded. "Jiang Rui, seeing that I've embarrassed such a big person, you're very proud of yourself, aren't you?" This time, not only did Jiang Rui stop eating her noodles, but Xuan also stopped eating her porridge with a spoon. Both of them looked at Xuan Wanru at the same time. Jiang Rui looked like she was looking at a lunatic. "Xuan Wanrao, is there something wrong with your brain? What does it have to do with me whether you're embarrassed or not? Why should I be proud? On the other hand, I've seen how hard it was for your mother to let go of the fact that you almost hurt my friend and me by accident just now. How can you still have the face to continue making trouble here? If I were you, I would have run away with my tail between my legs." Looking at how smart the two girls who came with her were, they had sneaked away while the boss was comforting the customers in the shop and no one noticed them. "You..." "One row!" Xuan Luying, who had been hanging her head, finally could not help but shout. "How long are you going to make a scene?" Her eyes were red, her figure was shaky. "You lost one job after another. Do you still want to live at home? You're already an adult. Can't you be more sensible? These are your classmates, right? You've always been good at saving face. What good will it do you if you keep making a scene like this?" As she spoke, Xuan Luying no longer looked at Xuan Wanru. She bowed to Xuan and Jiang Rui and said, "I'm sorry." Then she turned around to clean up the mess that Xuan Wanru had made. "Boss, I'm really sorry. I'll leave after I clean up." The boss didn't say anything. The noodle shop was small, and there were only 2 waiters, including Xuan Luying. They really needed people to clean up the place. Seeing Xuan Luying ignore her, the other people in the shop stared at her while eating. Their eyes were full of disdain, and Xuan Wanru felt her face burning. Biting her lips, she glared at Xuan and Jiang Rui with an unfriendly look and limped out of the noodle shop. She had just walked out of the noodle shop when she met someone, a woman, both noble and elegant. The woman looked at her indifferently. That gaze was full of contempt, causing Xuan Wanru's body to freeze. A strong sense of difference and inferiority spread from the bottom of her heart. However, the woman had already brushed past her. "Ruye." Jiang Rui raised her head when she heard the voice and said in surprise, "Mom, why are you here?" Mom? This elegant woman was Jiang Rui's mother? Then she looked at Xuan Luying, who was squatting on the ground in a waiter's outfit, cleaning up the broken bottles and cutlery. Xuan Wanru's eyes were full of jealousy toward Jiang Rui. She was not inferior to Jiang Rui. Why did Jiang Rui, who pretended to be noble, have such a good family background, but she had to struggle in the gutter? Why? When Kong Xiangxiang appeared, Jiang Rui was only concerned out of surprise. She did not see the jealousy in Xuan Wanru's eyes, but Xuan did. However, Xuan only glanced at her briefly before she averted her gaze. She met Kong Xiangxiang's gaze. "Little Yan is here too." Kong Xiangxiang greeted her first. It was not very cordial. Xuan smiled and nodded. "First, madam." Jiang Rui looked at them and sighed in her heart. Xiaoyan had already called her second Aunt Fang, but she still called her mother first madam. It seemed that Xiaoyan also felt that her mother had a prejudice against her. Her mother was really too much. Why did she have to do this? Even if Xiaoyan wanted to stare at someone in their family, she was not staring at her brother. "Why are you eating here?" "I thought I was wrong when I was in the car just now. Fortunately, I insisted on getting the driver to stop the car to take a look. I didn't expect it to really be you guys." Then she looked at Jiang Rui and scolded, "Ruya, your grandmother told you to take good care of Xiaoyan. Why did you invite her to such a place to eat? You should invite Xiaoyan to eat something good." Jiang Rui quickly glanced at Xuan, afraid that she would think too much after hearing what she said. Seeing that Xuan's expression was still the same, she heaved a sigh of relief. She did not mention that this meal was actually Xuan's treat. She said coquettishly to Kong Xiangxiang, "Hey Mom, it's different where we eat. Xiaoyan and I were shopping and we were hungry. When we saw this noodle shop, we immediately came in. These days we've eaten quite a lot of things. It's only right for us to have a taste of everything. Besides, this noodle shop's taste is not bad." "Mom, do you want a bowl?" Kong Xiangxiang glanced at the food in their bowls and frowned slightly. "I won't eat it." "Your brother really spoils you, stuffing everything into your mouth. It's fine if there's a guest this time, but don't eat outside recklessly in the future." Jiang Rui thought she would be scolded. She stuck her tongue out playfully at Kong Xiangxiang. "Mom, Xiao Yan and I still want to walk around. If you have something to do, go ahead. Don't worry about us. I'm familiar with Sea City." "No rush. I don't have anything to do either. Since we met here, let's find a place to sit and talk. It just so happens that I haven't treated Xiao Yan well since she came to Sea City." Jiang Rui was about to say that they could walk around on their own when Kong Xiangxiang glared at her. She swallowed her words. Kong Xiangxiang smiled and asked Xiao Yan, "Do you drink coffee?" "I don't mind." Yan smiled politely. "After you guys finish eating, let's go to the coffee shop across the street. The coffee there is not bad." "Sure, but it might take a few minutes, as the first madam waits." Kong Xiangxiang sized Yan up, and her gaze fell on her again. Although Yan came from the countryside, she did not have the aura of a country girl. Her temperament was like that of an orthodox young lady from an aristocratic family. She could not see through Yan. Previously, when she returned to the old residence to attend the family banquet, she had wanted to find an opportunity to get in touch with Yan to probe her about her background. However, with Grandma Jiang around, that wasn't possible, as she was especially protective of Yan. She had eaten at the family banquet and left the next day after staying at the old residence, so she could not find an opportunity. If she returned to the old residence a few days after the family banquet ended, it would seem deliberate, and Grandma Jiang would definitely keep an eye on her. She had originally planned to wait a few days before returning to the old residence to find out more about Yan, but she did not expect to meet her here. It was a good opportunity to test her while Grandma Jiang was not around. She had to find out whether Grandma Jiang had set Yan and her son up on her own wishful thinking, or if Yan had her own intentions. Ruye was rarely willing to make serious friends, and she did not want Ruye to be caught in the middle. If Yan had no intentions towards her son, and it was just Grandma Jiang's wishful thinking, then she would give Yan a hint. Then, she would slowly start from the old lady and stop staring at Yan. Otherwise, if Ruye continued to protect Yan, it might affect the relationship between the mother and daughter. It was not worth it. "It's fine. I'll wait for you in the car. Come and find me after you're done eating." Chapter 26. To have you practice before. After Kong Xiangxiang left the noodle shop, Yan and Jiang Rui continued eating. Yan drank some porridge, opened the pastry box, and ate 2 more pieces of pastry. When she was almost done eating, Jiang Rui glanced at the mess that Xuan Luying had cleaned up in the noodle shop. She hesitated and asked Yan, "Little Yan, I see that your skills are not bad. Have you practiced before?" Jiang Rui had wanted to ask this question earlier. She was born in the Jiang family of Sea City, so naturally, she had to receive corresponding training since she was young. However, her focus was not on martial arts, so she could barely protect herself. However, this did not affect her eyesight. She could see that Yan's flash and kick had a knack for it. "When I was young, I practiced military boxing with the elders of my family for a few years." Jiang Rui thought that her question would put Yan in a difficult position, but she did not expect Xuan to answer so calmly, as if she was not afraid of being doubted by others. After all, there were too many things that did not match her background and her appearance. After being slightly stunned by her calmness, Jiang Rui did not ask any more questions. She only smiled and said, "As expected, I knew that you must have practiced it, since you were so good. By the way, I saw that you and Xuan Wanru seemed to know each other just now. How did you two meet?" "Not really. I met her once at a restaurant when I was out shopping when I first arrived at Sea City." "She's so hostile to you just because you met her once? Did you two have a grudge?" Without waiting for Shi Yan's reply, Jiang Rui continued to say, "With your personality, you probably wouldn't take the initiative to have any interaction with Xuan Wanru. She must be looking for trouble again." After being together for so many days, Shi Yan gave Jiang Rui the feeling that she was not only gentle and polite to others, but also Buddhist. Yes, she was Buddhist. She did not have any other hobbies other than reading books, and she did not have any special requirements for life. Whether it was eating in a top restaurant or a small roadside shop, wearing top-class high-quality clothes or ordinary clothes, living in a top-class mansion or a small farmhouse, she was able to deal with it calmly. With her temperament, she really did not seem like a young person of the present age. Shi Yan smiled faintly and did not say anything, which could be considered as a tacit agreement of Jiang Rui's words. She really did not take the initiative to have any interaction with Xuan Wanru. She did not know where Xuan Wanru's inexplicable malice towards her came from. She knew that Xuan Wanru's malice toward her was not because she had caught the mother-daughter argument, and clearly understood that Xuan Wanru was not as glamorous as she appeared on the surface. It was because before that, when she had been eating in the restaurant, she had felt Xuan Wanru's malicious gaze. Seeing her reaction, Jiang Rui thought to herself that it was indeed so. "In my opinion, Xuan Wanru is simply mentally ill. You don't have to pay attention to her." Before saying this, Jiang Rui first looked at Xuan Luying, who was cleaning, and made sure that she could not hear their conversation from such a distance. When a mother heard these kinds of words, she would definitely feel uncomfortable in her heart. "Okay," Shi Yan smiled and responded. In fact, if she had not met her again today, she would not have remembered who Xuan Wanru was at all. Seeing that the porridge in Shi Yan's bowl was almost bottomless, Jiang Rui hesitated for a moment and said, "Xiao Yan, my mother." "My mother was actually not such a difficult person to get along with in the past. She must have heard those groundless rumors outside and thought too much." "It's fine," Shi Yan said. Although she didn't know what the rumors were outside, it wasn't difficult to guess. Her gaze fell on the pastry box that she had closed again, and there was a faint smile in her eyes. "It's just a rumor. One day, it will come to an end." Following Shi Yan's line of sight to the box of pastries, Jiang Rui raised her eyebrows slightly. "Yes, it's just a rumor. One day, it will come to an end. You don't have to worry too much about my mother. You can ignore whatever she says if you want to. If you don't want to, just ignore her words. I'll find an opportunity to communicate with my mother." Shi Yan actually wanted to say that she didn't really care about the thoughts and opinions of others. When she looked up and saw Jiang Rui's sincere expression, as if she was afraid that she would really be wronged, she smiled faintly and said, "Thank you for your help, Rui. It's not a big deal. Besides, you were also given an undeserved disaster in the first place." The two of them chatted for a while more. After finishing their food, they got up and left. The noodle shop owner waived the bill, but Shi Yan still gave money. Just as she walked out of the noodle shop and was about to walk to the car, parked by the roadside not far away, she was stopped by someone. "Please wait a moment." The two of them turned around when they heard the sound. They saw Xuan Luying, who had changed out of the waiter's clothes. The clothes on her body were visibly old, but they were very clean. Her hair was also combed properly. Although she looked haggard, she did not look sloppy at all. She gave people a good impression. "Auntie, what's the matter?" Jiang Rui asked. "I'm sorry about what happened just now," Xuan Luying said apologetically. They had already apologized, and they had also said that they would not pursue the matter. This auntie was still so guilty, and her personality was really very different from Xuan Wanru's. How could such a mother have a daughter like Xuan Wanru? Jiang Rui could not understand. That was not auntie's fault in the first place. Moreover, the matter is already in the past. Auntie doesn't have to keep apologizing. If there's nothing else, we will leave first. Wait. Jiang Rui stopped again, only to see Xuan Luying staring at Xuan. Her gaze moved between the two of them. Just as she was puzzled, she saw Xuan Luying say gratefully to Xuan, "Young lady, thank you for the medicine you bought for me last time. If it's convenient, can you leave me your contact number? I'll give you the money for the medicine." "No need. It didn't cost much," Xuan said, and gave Xuan Luying a faint nod before turning around and leaving. Seeing this, Jiang Rui didn't stay any longer. She nodded at Xuan Luying and followed Xuan. Seeing them leave, Xuan Luying finally couldn't help but squat on the ground and cry. She actually wanted to pay back the money in person, but she didn't have any money. She had to contact her first and pay back when she had the money. Then she thought of a strange girl about the same age as her daughter who had cared about her, but her daughter. She could not hold back her emotions. Jiang Rui, who had walked far away, turned around and saw Xuan Luying, who was squatting there and sobbing. She was a little moved. "Xiaoyan, that auntie." Xian also turned around and glanced at her, but did not say anything. Jiang Rui continued. "Xuan Wanru's looks and grades are not bad. Even if her family background is not good, others will not look down on her because of that. If someone does not want to be friends with her because of her family background, such a friend is not worth making friends with, right? What do you think Xuan Wanru is after? Her mother is like this. Even an outsider like me doesn't feel good when I see her like this. She's really heartless." Xuan looked at Xuan Luying, who was not far away, and retracted her gaze. "Who knows?" she said. Then the two of them got into the car that was parked by the roadside. As soon as they got into the car, a person appeared beside Xuan Luying, who was squatting on the ground and crying. However, Xuan did not see it. "Why are you doing this?" Xuan Luying heard the voice and looked up. She saw a woman who was about 45 years old standing in front of her. She was wearing a professional suit and looked very capable. With tears on her face, she smiled and said, "It's you, Su'er."